everyone. Welcome to A Higher Dimension. I'm Gloria Danvers from Gloria Danvers Hypnosis in Orlando, Florida, and I'm your host for A Higher Dimension. On this podcast, we explore the soul-level side of the human experience through past life memories, spiritual awakenings, psychic intuition, healing through hypnosis, and those strange but meaningful moments in a person's life that shift everything they ever knew. Some weeks will be just you and I, and we'll be digging deep into the mysteries of the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the divine mind. Some weeks I'll be bringing on a guest to share their own extraordinary journey in past life regression, spiritual awakenings, psychic phenomena, interdimensional experiences, and, yes, paranormal encounters. And whether it's their story, or your story, or even my story, the real question is always, what now? What comes next? How do you live differently after a spiritual awakening? How do you manage your life after the curtain of time and memory and spirit is pulled back? Who are you? What do you know now that you didn't know then? If you feel like something inside you is stirring and expanding, or even cracking wide open, you're probably already on your path. We know nothing happens by accident. I've had amazing breakthroughs by understanding that seemingly random information and circumstances are never random. So if you're here listening, chances are you're ready for your own hypnotic journey, your own spiritual awakening, and finding your place in an expanding universe. You can reach me at gloriadanvershypnosis.com for a free consultation. Let's chat about what all of this could mean for you. You'll find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon, and iHeart.com. If you're interested in the subjects that I'm bringing to your table, please hit like and subscribe. Your support can help me take this podcast to the next level. But right now, take a breath, lean in, and let's explore the hidden dimensions of your soul inside and outside the universe and beyond, right here on A Higher Dimension. Welcome back to A Higher Dimension. It's your host, Gloria Danvers, and today I want to share something that happened to me very recently. I had to think about it for a few weeks, like anyone would, and this week I've decided to share it. I know you're probably thinking, this woman has a lot of unusual experiences, and I do. I don't know why. I'm really just like everybody else, just riding up and down on this seesaw we call life. But there are two things that might differentiate me from other people, and maybe that's what leaves me open for these experiences. One, I don't ask for them, which means I don't have any preconceived notions about how these experiences should happen. And two, I'm open and unafraid. That means I don't freak out and run when unusual things do happen. I don't know if that's the magic combination, but just off the cuff, that's what I think. All I know is when I'm talking about ordinary people having extraordinary experiences, I'm right up there. That's one of the reasons I started this podcast. I felt like if I'm having these experiences, all the rest of you, in one way or another, are having them too. And if any of you have experienced anything like what I'm about to tell you, shoot me an email because I would love to talk to you about it. So here's my story. First, you should know that I'm a creature of habit. I go to bed at the same time every night. I read for a while, play a few games on my tablet, and I close my eyes. I say, thank you for this day. And off to sleep I go. So one night, a night like any other night, I had gone to sleep, and I was probably out for about an hour when I began sensing movements and patterns, almost like I could see through my eyelids. And it was odd enough to bring me into full wakefulness. When I opened my eyes at first, I thought something was wrong with my vision, and I kept blinking to try to make it go away. But as my eyes adjusted to the dark, I realized that something else was happening. There were some things going on in my bedroom that I had never experienced before. Right beside me, hovering over my bed, was a swirl of energy. It was like a small whirlwind, just spinning with tiny slivers of silver light. It stood about 3 feet tall and 18 inches wide. It tapered off at the top and the bottom and was barrel-shaped in the middle. The slivers of light looked almost like cut-up pieces of tinfoil that a wind had picked up. But they were all the same size and all the same shape, and they were very bright. I don't perceive them, and didn't them, as light or orbs. That was something else. At the same time, I noticed a black mist curling at the corner of my room, almost like tendrils reaching out. And near my window, a pattern shimmered. It was this honeycomb-like geometric design that just kept shifting and glowing, and the pattern seemed to have been overlaid over the entire wall and concentrated in one spot that was shifting a little bit differently than the rest of it and glowing. I didn't really feel like this was random because sacred geometry shows up in nature, in flowers, in seashells, even in the structure of our cells, and the bees certainly know it. Some traditions say that these patterns are the blueprint of creation itself. I sensed that these things were companions and were connected somehow, but not necessarily one thing manifesting in several apparitions. Each one was fully formed and completely energetic apart from the others. They did not overlap. I wasn't afraid. I watched it for a few minutes, although really it seemed longer than that. And I even reached my arm into the swirling energy. I didn't feel anything. No tingling, no change in density. It just kept spinning in the same place. I watched all of this for a little while, and then finally said, "Go away, I'm tired." And the energies faded away within seconds. I didn't feel anything personal from them, but yet when I said go away, they left. So it was obvious that there was some type of sentience there because they heard me and they complied. And because I was tired, I went right back to sleep. In the morning, I got on the phone to a few of my metaphysical BFFs and told them what had happened while it was still fresh in my mind. One of my friends thought the energy might have carried a message of some type, but I really wasn't feeling that. I didn't think it was about me at all. Another of my friends, who is a psychic medium, said she intuited that somehow I had slipped into a dimensional space where these things existed within the same space that I occupied. I mean, think about it. If dimensions are layered over each other, like pages in a book, then sometimes the pages might get thin enough for us to peek through. And so maybe that night, my page and their page lined up perfectly, and we were all simply sharing the same space at the same time. And I believe that if I had not been in that dimensional space, I would not have seen them. I don't know this. This is only my brain talking, but it is very possible that they would not have, quote unquote, seen me either. But still, I was there and they were there. And as I said, there was some type of sentience. And the fact that they disappeared when I asked them to, that told me that there was intelligence there. That maybe it wasn't about delivering a message. Maybe it was just about coexisting for a few minutes. Like passing someone in the hallway and nodding, just an acknowledgement. I see you and you see me. And now let's step back a little bit, and I want to unpack some information that might have a bearing on the experience. Many spiritual traditions teach that when you're vibrating at a higher frequency, whether it's from meditation, energy work, or simply being in a receptive state, you can tune into higher frequencies. Just like a radio picking up new stations, our perception can expand. Mystics, shamans, and religious visionaries throughout history describe auras, light bodies, and energy forms. This is not a new concept. They talk about the veil thinning and higher dimensions that are overlapping with ours. The silver swirls and the geometric patterns that I saw, maybe they echo the sacred geometry found in those mystical traditions. Some say it's sensory deprivation. Others say it could be a sacred code of the universe. And yet, another interpretation is this. As our vibration rises, we become able to perceive dimensions of reality that are always present, but usually invisible. And let's also consider the scientific angle. I've read that experiences like mine often happen in the place between sleep, either as we're drifting off or just waking up. In these states, the brain is in a unique rhythm, blending dream images with waking perception. In other words, scientists call what we see in these states hallucinations. Geometric patterns, shifting lights, and even shadowy figures are commonly reported. In fact, up to 70% of people experience this at least once. Our brains in these moments generate imagery that feels completely real. So science explains the swirls, the mists, the honeycomb designs as brain phenomena, neural firing patterns, sleep states, and visual cortex activity. But here's the question. Does calling it a hallucination make it any less real? Or is that just a word for something that we don't fully understand? So the scientists would say it's a hallucination. That's fair enough. The brain is powerful. But here's my question. When did we decide the brain making it up means it's not real? If your brain interprets a wave of energy as silver light, and you see silver light, does it matter whether the source was internal or external? Maybe consciousness is the meeting point. And what if both views could be true at once? The brain could be acting as the receiver, like a radio tuning into frequencies that belong to other layers of reality. From one angle, it's a hallucination. From another angle, it's perception opening up to the unseen. Now think about it. Radio waves, X-rays, and even microbes were invisible until we had the tools to detect them. What if these energetic forms and dimensions are simply beyond the instruments of today, but not beyond the capacity of human perception? Mystical traditions say that our senses can evolve. Science says the brain is capable of extraordinary imagery. Maybe both are describing the same thing in different ways. Another piece of this puzzle is consciousness itself. Normally, we drift through those in-between states of sleep unconsciously. But if you remain aware, as I did, you can witness the threshold between worlds. Some call this lucid dreaming. Others call it crossing the veil. Either way, it's a reminder that awareness doesn't just switch off because the body's resting. We may be able to carry our consciousness into deeper hidden layers of reality. So when something like this happens to us, what do we make of this experience? Are they hallucinations, higher dimensional encounters, or something in between? Maybe the answer is yes to all of it. Why should anything ever be either or? Why can't it be both? I always believed that magic was science unexplained, and that science was magic explained. You can't even say where one starts and the other stops. They are one and the same. What matters most isn't the label, but the message. Our perception is capable of far more than we usually allow. When we vibrate higher, when we remain present and aware, doors can open up to realities that are both mystical and scientific. We become explorers of consciousness. And even when we're not exploring, Even when we read our book and played our game, even when we go to sleep, we still have the capability of tapping into a higher vibration. So the next time you sense movement in the dark, or see patterns behind your eyes, or something shimmering on the wall, don't dismiss it. Stay curious. Stay open. And don't be afraid. You just might be witnessing the hidden dimensions of a multi-layered existence. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that I've managed to pique your interest, raise your curiosity, give you something to think about, teach you something that you didn't know before, or send you down a major rabbit hole. If you're curious about what I do, if you would like to schedule a session with me, shoot me an email. Go onto my website, gloriadanvershypnosis.com, and book a free consultation. Let's discover something about you that you didn't know. Let's open some doors for you that you didn't know were there. I'll be back next week. And until then, stay curious. Stay open to all the things that come in for you through a higher dimension.